I live in a market where there is a Lucid store. It's always empty. I look in there, and it's unfortunate.
So I get stuffed into this EV and I have to drive across Wisconsin. Now, that's range anxiety right there.
Can somebody make a water-powered car?
I think in the next 3 years, you don't have to worry about It's in full self-driving mode. We're going 45 miles an hour towards this red light, and the guy who's test driving this, no skin in the game, he's like, yeah, let's see if it stops. We still almost... So diving right into it, right? Danielle, you have some EV experience, a little bit. Where are you at with it?
So I'm one of those people that one time when I rented a car from Hertz, they were like, hey, we have this Tesla for you. Do you want to try it? And I said, sure. I didn't think about it. I got it. And then I didn't realize how quickly the battery would be dying. So literally I was like in the parking lot of a racetrack gas station, just waiting for the car to charge. But I mean, it was good, but I don't know if I am ready to just jump in and have my own EV.
Yeah, it's the range anxiety that's talked about. That's where am I going to charge it? Am I going to charge it, etc. I have a similar thing, right?
Yeah.
I showed up to an airport. I was a day late because my flight got canceled. The only thing that I could rent at the entire airport was a Chevy Volt.
Oh.
Okay. And at the time, I was probably 100 pounds heavier. So you really squeezed, like I could have worn one of these on each foot and skated around. So I get stuffed into this EV and I have to drive across Wisconsin.
Oh.
Now, that's range anxiety right there.
Yeah, where's the chargers?
Fortunately, the dealerships that I was working at had chargers. But on my last day, getting ready to catch my flight, I had to drive over to Madison. I get there, and if they hadn't had one of the hyper chargers, I wouldn't have been able to get back to the airport to catch a flight.
That's too much.
In addition to that, they charged me $50 to charge it at the airport, even though they didn't give it to me with a full tank of battery, right? There's so many things to navigate. Is there the range anxiety? Am I getting a tax credit? Is this something that I feel is actually going to save the environment? If you're
Debatable.
one of those, right. So if you're like somebody who hugs trees and you really want to take care of the planet, is EV actually doing that for you?
I don't know.
All the materials that we mine to get to into these batteries, they still get mined with petroleum-based mining products, right? There's not a big digger that's running on batteries that's digging up all of this stuff. So the questions still abound about what it's doing to the environment and if it's the way of the future. But one thing is for sure, enough people have bought in and governments have bought into the EV strategy to say, yes, this is what we're going to do. Okay, so it's a really interesting thing that comes up with these electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And they have so much additional tech to them.
Right.
Right. So like if you get into a regular vehicle right now, you're ready to start the engine and you're ready to put it in drive and go. Sometimes you get into an EV. Do you even know how to start it? Do you know what the button is?
Is it like, dude?
Sometimes it's that. Sometimes you walk up and as soon as the little handles pop up, then your car is on. And it's ready to go into drive or reverse. So there's also a steep learning curve to picking up and getting into one of these vehicles.
Hey, Philip, I've always wondered, because an EV is like essentially like a cell phone with wheels.
Yeah.
How easy is it to hack? And like...
I mean... There are so many things, and I'm going to give you guys a little unknown information.
Okay.
The EV is regulated on the federal level, but not necessarily matching with what the state level regulations are. So some of these autonomous self-driving semis that we've heard about or we're thinking about that have these huge battery packs can drive across a federal highway through different states that don't allow them.
Oh.
Right. So if you want to talk about like things that could get tricky, there's some hairiness there. And is it able to be hacked? Nobody really knows. Until we see it happen, can you definitively say it can't be hacked?
Like that movie where they all start crashing
into
each other?
That one I still haven't seen because I'm in the vehicle market and I don't want to taint my brain with what is possible.
Okay.
Right? So
we won't tell you.
I don't want any nightmares today. I just want to be able to sleep peacefully. But it's a question that comes up. You got self-driving electric vehicles. They're fully autonomous. They can go wherever they want, and you're trusting somebody to control them. You always have those visions of the future where every vehicle isn't on rails necessarily, but it's being manipulated by turn signals and guidance and GPS and all of these things. But what if there's a pedestrian in the street? What if a ball rolls across the street? What if it doesn't stop?
Yeah, that's scary.
And so you have naysayers who will say like, okay, this is vetted, this is tested. It's just like logging into your bank app. Like somebody has 256-bit encryption and they're protecting you. But
who's the guinea pig though?
Who's the guinea pig? Who's going to test it? I was a guinea pig, Danielle.
When?
I got into a Tesla P85D, right? Super cool. And this was in 2018, I believe, and it was right at the start.
Early adopter.
Right. I was on a test drive, and I'm giving this person a test drive. So I was selling, they were test driving this vehicle.
Oh.
And they're like, I want to try out whatever their self-driving system was called at that time, where it reads stuff for you.
They had it back then?
Yes, they did. And it's super cool. Like, you see little dots for buildings, you see little people, you see a little person on a bicycle. Sometimes if there was somebody like me who was a little bit larger, it might show me as a building, hurt my feelings. Okay? But with all of that information, we still almost ran a red light. So it's in full self-driving mode. We're going 45 miles an hour towards this red light. And the guy who's test driving this, no skin in the game, he's like, yeah, let's see if it stops. And I'm like, nah, bro, hit the brake. And we are barreling towards this red light. And I am not telling any fibs when I screamed at a person who's test driving a car with the potential to buy it and told them to slam on the brakes. And that's the only way we got that car to stop.
So it failed in that moment.
It failed.
You were going to be a pancake Phillip.
I was going to be a pancake Phillip, and that battery was going to be burning at 4,000 degrees. Because that's the other thing people don't talk about.
It's hot.
It's hot. You remember when the Chevy Bolt was outlawed from every parking garage in the world?
Oh.
Yeah.
Remind me.
So at where I park at the Richmond airport, they still have no Chevy Bolts allowed in the parking garage. Because what can happen is with these battery cells, they can spontaneously combust. And then when they do that, they catch the other battery cells and you can't put it out because it burns at 4,000 degrees. Water will not put it out. You have to have foam cannons on the fire truck to be able to put this out. Okay. Now, this may seem like I'm just trying to scare everybody out of EVs. As I tell these stories, I realize that. That's not the case. I'm just trying to let people know there are a lot of unknowns in this market that we have to figure out very, very quickly. Okay, so fortunately, battery technology has evolved. They've gotten safer.
Yeah.
So we can breathe a little bit easier. But I mean, we still have there was a time when the Lightnings were in a row, like all the Ford Lightnings were in a row, and several of them caught on fire and nobody could explain why, right? These things still happen. But we have to figure out how to face it and what to do. Let's talk about a little good news.
Okay.
Okay? Right? You can save some money. This is the biggest thing, I
Show
think,
me
is
the money.
saving money.
Show me the money, Phillip.
That's what we all want.
I want to do this.
If you buy an EV today, do you know how much the government's going to give you?
I heard it's like 7,000 something. What is it?
$7,500 for a new one.
Do I get it like right away or when do I get it?
So you can choose where you get it. You can either get it as a tax credit or you can go to the manufacturer and you can say, apply this to the purchase of the vehicle.
So they won't cut me a check. They'll just apply it or I'll get a credit later on when I do the tax.
Right.
Okay.
So you have the option for it, but $7,500 isn't anything to shake a stick at. I don't mind. And if you buy a used one, you can still get $4,000.
Really?
Yeah.
If you buy a used one, does it have to be from the manufacturer or can it be from anybody?
I think it can be from anybody as long as you are able to prove it to the DMV and tell them that you did it. You should be able to get the $4,000.
Noted.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Don't fact check me on that because I'm not an actual seller of EVs, but that is what the articles that we could either link to, or if you're curious, you can reach out to me and I can send you.
Okay.
They'll highlight that the $4,000 is available for use. So I can save money. Okay.
Money good, yes.
They are still lower emission than an ICE vehicle.
It's not like a big black cloud of smoke comes out the back like you're behind a truck. You're like,
Correct.
You hate that.
Yeah. So it's still better. And if you really want to see those black clouds of smoke, there are semi-racing videos on the internet where they race semis that are just billowing these black clouds.
Oh.
So it's better than that,
It's
right?
better than that. We think.
There's some nuance there too. If you look at a Hummer EV, because of the weight of the vehicle with all the batteries, and if you charge it in an area that's coal-powered or natural gas-powered, you're actually still using petroleum-based products or damaging the environment with that. So the question becomes, how do we get clean energy into the grid to power these vehicles to make it truly sustainable and healthy for the planet?
Okay.
So I've given you a lot here.
You have.
And now I want you to tell me, you buying an EV tomorrow?
You've got me. If on a scale of 1 to 10 and I was at a 4, maybe after this conversation with you, I'm at a 7.5. But to get me over the hump, I think it's going to take a little bit more. I've always been a little bit intrigued about Tesla and what they're doing with their sales strategy, but I hear that may not be super good. Maybe you could elaborate about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so when Tesla first came out, they eliminated the dealership concept. So instead of having all of these salespeople, the general manager, the general sales manager, F&I, all that, they said no.
They said no.
We're going to handle our financing. We will give these representatives an iPad. You walk into the dealership. I'm able to say, what Tesla do you want? I mark it up. And then I say, your Tesla will be delivered to your house in X days. Okay. And there was a huge plume of smoke, like what I did there, with every dealership that was like, wait, is Tesla going to revolutionize the way that we do our car business? I was working in CRM at the time, and every dealership I walked into was freaking out. They're like, I'm not going to have a job in 10 years. Nobody needs a salesperson anymore because you can do it from an iPad. Incentives are going to go away, all the way down the line.
Jeez.
Now, what ended up happening? We ran into some production issues, right? We couldn't get all the batteries sourced. Teslas were using vegan leather in their cars, and people didn't know if they wanted that. It was a whole shindig of these different circumstances that made people hesitant. And then you had the OEMs who weren't ready to change their full sales process.
No.
They still offer incentives. They still have vehicles that they need to sell that are used. They have a service department that makes a lot of money at the dealership. So they're not ready to abandon all of that and go full bore into selling bespoke vehicles to every customer. Okay? They're also crazy expensive, right? Like an electric vehicle is not a cheap cell phone battery, right? It is very expensive. For example, my wife, she wanted to drive a Rivian, and they were offering a special where you could come in and drive one and test it out, whatever. And I...
Did you come in? What do you mean? You had like a Rivian store? You could like a showroom?
Yeah.
I've not seen one of those yet.
Think of it like Capital One cafes where you're like, is it a bank or am I getting coffee? What's happening here?
Is it both?
It's both. I walked in, they offered me coffee. They offered me water in a box, which was kind of cool. Like, I get it. It's a cardboard box. And then they have National Geographic collection, every magazine. Now I'm like, wait a second. I'm here to buy a car.
They're like, are they stereotyping me?
Yeah. And I'm like, I do love nature. And it makes sense. But the guy who was selling me the car, he's in flip-flops, super chill. Got his top button unbuttoned. He's got his hamburger meat hanging out. He's like, yeah, you want to buy a Rivian? I'm really excited about it. I'm like, this feels like an experience completely different from any other car buying experience.
Because don't they try to like, Rivian is luxury, but it's also like rustic. It's like I'm a hiker.
So yes, right.
But I'm luxury, but I'm a hiker.
Yeah, I do it all, right?
Yeah.
Am I deciding to go to the Met Gala or do I want to go glamping?
Right.
Right. And I could do both.
Okay. So
Okay.
Carry on.
So I go in there, and of course, this gentleman is talking to me and my wife, and he's like, so what kind of Rivian are you looking at? And my wife is like, I just want to get into a Rivian, right? And I'm sitting back, and I'm like, let him ask me the question. He's like, are you thinking a dual motor or a tri-motor? I'm like, tri-motor. I want the fastest thing you got. I want to feel the speed. I want to know everything about this vehicle. So he puts us into a $111,000 car, right? And I'm like, this cell phone is pricey.
That's pricey.
And of course my wife is like, I love it. And I'm like, you just need to calm down because this is crazy out of budget. But let's see what the experience is. And the experience was super cool. It's got a frunk. It doesn't make any noise. All of the interior materials are very nice. Screens everywhere. But none of that actually appeals to me. What appeals to me is, can I spin all 4 tires and rip this rubber off of this car?
You
Okay?
wanted to move.
I wanted to move. And I think it's somewhere between 700 and 1,000 horsepower in the unit that we were driving, which for a Ferrari guy is right on par with what I'm used to.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this, Danielle.
Okay,
we got into this. We picked up a friend who's a mechanic, and he was super stoked. And I'm like, look, man, we can go as fast in this Rivian as we want. They said that it doesn't have a limiter on it, which they shouldn't have told me. So we pull up to the bottom of an on-ramp, and we stop. My wife and his wife are in the back seat, and they are having a conversation. Now, one of the big things about electric vehicles is instant torque, which means your body is not prepared for how fast it's going to go. Okay.
You floored it.
My friend and I are in the front. We've turned off all of the safety features we could find, and I'm ready to stomp this size 16 on the gas pedal. My wife and her friend are having a conversation. They are not prepared. So when I stepped on the gas, they actually hurt their neck and head because of how fast it moves you back.
Wow.
Right? Now, me and my boy up front, we're like driving, and we're super stoked. And that is one of the biggest draws, I think, is that speed. It is addictive. It is crazy. It is quiet. You can hear the tires losing rubber as you're driving up the on-ramp. Yeah. And it's all-wheel drive, but like you can hear everything around you. Okay, so there is a huge draw to this. There is a draw to the car enthusiast. There is a draw to people who want to save the environment. There is a draw to people who have too much money and want to spend it on something. Like there are all of these draws. And to adapt, Tesla has done things where they've said, let's make a cheaper version of the vehicle so more people can afford it.
Right.
Rivian's coming out with a smaller SUV more people can afford. You know, there are all of these brands. Scout just entered the market with their SUV and truck. Scout, right? Originally International Scout from way back in the day, revived the brand. It's now a fully electric, more of a glamping camping truck than any of the other electric vehicle providers. So there is some information there that's super impactful and important. But you know what didn't happen in the 8 years since I drove that Tesla?
No, wait, what?
The dealership still sells cars the traditional way. Yeah. They did not go to the full Tesla model that everybody was freaking out about. They haven't gotten rid of a CRM and a DMS and all of their service base. That has not taken place. So when we talk about the EV revolution being here, it is, but it's different than what people expected it to be. And now with the current change in economic policy, there are some other things that have changed. So if you remember 2 years ago, say, everybody was going full EV. We were talking about additional credits. We were talking about ways that we can get more people into it. We were talking about charging infrastructure. You had these, like ExxonMobil and Shell were looking at how they could invest into standing up charging across America.
Right. I remember that, yeah.
That hasn't really happened. And because of that, not everybody is feeling comfortable with these EVs. So what has the OEM done? They've adapted their strategy.
Have they pulled back?
Some of them have pulled back. You got VW and Audi who've made these bold claims to go fully electric. I think it's by somewhere in the 2030s where everything will be electric. There will be no more gasoline burning anything. You have Toyota who said, okay, maybe we don't fully abandon gas. We do hybrids. And then we also look at hydrogen burning vehicles because that's another clean source of energy. And then you have some of the American brands who want to live in this dichotomy of having ICE and electric and hybrids, as long as they meet their EPA standards.
Okay.
Which if you don't know, do you know what EPA standards represents in America and why it's so important?
Is that basically so that we like breathe clean air?
Yeah.
That's my guess. Okay.
We should put out less pollution across a fleet of vehicles from a manufacturer to say that we are taking care of the environment and doing our part to reduce greenhouse emissions.
Okay.
So the EPA sets these standards, which is why things like the Hemi went away. You have to have across your fleet of vehicles that you sell a higher miles per gallon to prove that you're improving the world for those around you.
Oh, Philip, didn't they also say in the state of California they were going to be fully EV by a certain year?
They did.
They kind of like slowly tried to retract that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, governments change. Every 4 years you have some kind of change, and then somebody said something before that you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they did say that.
There's
and
not
now
enough charging.
There's not enough charging. There's not enough charging. And then people are proving that the charging actually comes from coal burning plants. So are you really helping the environment in that way? So a lot of that is still in motion. There isn't any finite answer to this question like we all thought that there would be. Okay. And so that's the big thing with EVs, that when I hear people get all hyped up like, yeah, I'm going to get it. It's going to be electric and it's going to be awesome. I'm like, chill out.
Yeah.
Until you have a full roof of solar panels and you're charging everything at home, that's probably not going to be sustainable forever for everybody.
Yeah, I just wonder like what the future is going to look like, because like you mentioned, everybody initially got into the EVs because they were thinking, oh, we're going to save the environment. It's so good for the world, yada, yada, yada. But then when you peel back the layers, you see that it's like not necessarily going to do that.
Yeah.
So are the EV companies going to have to pivot so that they can kind of live up to what they were selling in the past? Or do you think people are just going to be like, they just don't want to go to gas stations anymore?
So it's a super cool question. All of the EV companies are still in the hype phase right now, right? They're still in that, but you're watching the stocks tumble and then rise and go back down. So they have to change an approach.
Wait, real quick. You mentioned the stocks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, hit me.
I was an early adopter with Lucid and Rivian and got some stock in there. So I'm still just waiting and watching and waiting and watching because the stock keeps going up and down and down and down and down. And now I'm in a hold state because I'm hoping it'll turn around. So continue.
I'm not an economist, right? Although I do play one on this podcast. What I will say is you're going to be in a hold state for several more years. If you look at things like Fisker Karma, who came in with a super cool car that was electrified and then went out of business and then is coming back into business.
Yeah, they're like, we're back.
Right. Lucid did the same thing and now they're back. I mean, they sell a Lucid Air Sapphire, I believe, which is over $100,000.
I'm like, who is your audience for this? Like, I live in a market where there is a Lucid store on the corner of our shopping center. It's always empty. I look in there, and it's unfortunate.
It is.
It's unfortunate because it's a beautiful car, but it's too expensive.
Yes.
Like people want an expensive SUV. I think they're coming out with one, but it's like it's too expensive.
And do you know why it's so expensive?
The battery?
The battery.
Oh, that's what's costing so much?
Yeah, you got to get all these rare earth minerals. There's like 13 rare earth minerals, I think.
How is that good for the environment? See, that's what I mean. Can somebody make a water-powered car?
So that's the hydrogen-powered car.
Oh.
Right. So that's a great point that you bring up, because when they put the hydrogen in, as it expels out of the pipe, it turns to water. So it'll turn to water vapor, and then that's what's powering your vehicle.
That sounds like a good option.
And everybody's like, well, Philip, why aren't there hydrogen-powered cars everywhere? Because it puts out like 60 horsepower, and it freezes when you try and fill it up. So there's still these things to overcome with all of these things.
We're not there yet.
But in the time that we have right now, what's happening, right? What is the answer to this?
What's the answer?
I'm a big Mopar guy. I always have been, right? My favorite car is a Viper, blah, blah, blah. Stellantis, which is what Mopar used to be, is now Stellantis. They've done something that's pretty revolutionary.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They came out with the Ram Rev. It was a super cool concept. You're going to be able to get like a 20-foot board through the whole thing. You could fold down the seats and all that. They abandoned that to go with a more traditional electrified Ram pickup truck.
Okay.
And that's coming out in 2026. It was delayed several times because they decided to rebadge a vehicle with a Ram Charger plate, which takes a gas-burning engine and a large battery pack and uses the gas engine as a generator to power the battery pack.
Okay.
So when I owned my Ram, I did not get great gas mileage. I would get between 300 to 350 miles to a tank, 23 gallons roughly, okay? Which is not good. That same tank of gas in the new hybrid that they have will get you 680 miles.
That's like
Right.
twice as much.
It's twice as much, same amount of gas. You still have towing capacity, and your range anxiety is gone because you can fill it up and you can actually have it get you there. That, I think, is one of the smartest things, because not only does it increase and allow you to meet your EPA regulations, you eliminate range anxiety, you don't have to find a charging station for your trip, and you can still plug it in and go. So it's like that balance in the middle of making these extreme hybrids, I think, is where people are going to have to lean into until that charging infrastructure is up and running. So there are several other companies who are also looking at things like that, but I think, ironically, Stellantis is ahead of the game in making that vehicle. And you had asked, what about a regular hybrid, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I mean, when these EVs came out and everybody was getting all crazy about them, I always kind of liked the idea of the hybrid vehicle because you're like half in, half out.
Yeah.
You still feel like you're getting a lot of gas mileage, but you're just doing something good. But like, talk to me about these hybrids. Like, what's the deal there?
They're usually tiny. There's only two large hybrids that I can really think of right now. Full
RAV4?
hybrids.
Oh, full hybrids.
Okay. And so let me back up a second, because full-size hybrid is what I'm referencing. You have the new Ram Charger that's coming out, and you have the Chrysler Pacifica minivan that's a hybrid. Okay. You also have things like the Jeep 4xe, which is one. The RAV4 is out. There are some other mentionables that come out, but they're kind of small. And if you're trying to move your family around, or you're trying to move like a bunch of logs, like I can't take a RAV4 to Home Depot with a trailer and add on 2,000 pounds of lumber and tow it, 100 miles. Like that's not something I can do. Mm-hmm. So people are looking for those things that fit all of the aspects of their life. I have a neighbor who has two hybrids. He has the CRV and he has a RAV4, and he loves them. They fit in his garage, but he wishes that they had more space.
Okay.
Right? So how do we adapt to that and meet all of the needs of everybody in this country specifically? That's the thing that's not fully tackled yet.
Yeah, nobody has the answer quite yet on how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you've raised some good points here, whether the EVs are the future, is what we're going to be going to, or are we kind of retracting because of some of the concerns you mentioned about the economy and the environment and things like that. So ultimately, what would be a takeaway you'd leave dealers in this conversation? Where do they need to do?
They need to be strategic about what EVs they're bringing into their fleet of cars they're trying to sell. I have watched in states where they don't have a big charging infrastructure, EVs just sit, right? Nobody's coming in to buy it because there's nowhere to charge it. You also want to be prepared for, having a charging station at your dealership.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, it brings people back. It'll bring people back in. They'll sit there. They might buy extra product from you. It's a good chance for them to level up into another car from you. So if you can install that and it's in your budget, I recommend doing that. Also thinking about your market. Mm-hmm. If I live in rural Texas, having EVs in my rural Texas truck shop does not make any sense,
Unless the OEM is making you have it, right?
So, right.
Right.
But you negotiate your buying power with the OEM based on how it's going to sell.
Okay.
What incentives are you going to give me to have this sit on my lot? right? Don't just take the car because somebody says you have to do it. Treat it like a car deal. You want to get the best deal you can with the money that you have. And then I'd say the other thing to really think about with this is keeping your customer base in mind, fully understanding what they're willing to purchase, and using that to fight back if you have to fight against the OEM. You know, you got to protect yourself. You can't have these EVs sitting on the lot forever, and you know your market better than anybody else. So really use your knowledge to push back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's some good tips there for these dealers.
Yeah. I think that the anxiety that dealers experience from is the whole model going to change? I think that's going away. I don't think that that's going to be before 2035 that you see something like that. So salespeople will still have a job. GMs will still have a job. I think that that is all very good. I think in the next 3 years, you're going to see more of these hybrids that meet EPA standards but still burn gas. So you don't have to worry about a fully electrified future coming right now.
Okay, that makes sense. I like that. I don't know. I feel like, you know, if you guys like what we've been talking about in this episode today, we've been talking about EVs. Ultimately, like in our next episode, we're going to kind of touch on something a little bit similar, a little bit different. The fact that like the Carvana style buying is on the horizon. Is that changing the way that that consumers are buying cars? Are dealers scared and worried about it? Or are we looking at them like our biggest competitor? Stay tuned because we're going to get into all of that in our next episode.